Hey everyone, welcome to the garden in August. The garden is booming. I hope yours is as well. So we want to show you around, show some of the highlights, and also be a little bit honest. Show some lowlights, show what's happening around the farm here. This is not a farm, I don't know why I said that. Around the garden, and also some just monthly maintenance tips, things you should be doing in your own garden and getting ready for the cool season. So let's hop into it. Before we jump into that, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can stay up to date with all of the new videos coming out.
Hey, what's up? It's Oscar the Grouch in my trash pile. Just joking. The first thing that we wanted to talk about in August is cleaning out and pruning. If you look, this pile is huge. It was probably twice as high when we first put it in. It has sunk down and sucked down just because the moisture is coming out of it. But why do I have a huge pile? I kept this here to show you guys that when you plant a garden, there's gonna be green waste. Now in San Diego, we're lucky because they give us a green bin, they take it directly to the dump, and things like this, powdery mildewed squash leaves, don't have to stay in your own yard or in your own compost. We're gonna haul this up to the street and get rid of it.
What did that pile look like just a few days ago? Well, it looked a little bit like this. We have 2 squash plants left over here. If you're anything like us, been eating squash almost every meal, we just can't take it anymore. We're over squash and it's just that time of the year. But these plants, you can see, still have powdery mildew. We did keep these in just for a little bit longer, enjoy those last few harvests, and we're gonna continue to prune heavily, harvest heavily, and get this bed ready, which used to be full of 5 or 6 squash plants. Get this ready for the new season. We're gonna get some compost in here, get some fresh mulch in here, and get the soil ready for the cool season. Here we have a lot going on. We have Kajari melons, which are ripening up, and we want to give those a little bit of space. We have sweet potatoes as a ground cover, which we're gonna harvest. And then of course we have lots of tomatoes. These are Romas in cages. They are coming along nicely. At this stage, gonna be controversial. You can harvest. It's okay, it will ripen on the counter. Can you also leave it on the plant to continue to get that full red color on the plant? Yes, you can. Either way, whatever you do, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, but let's harvest this sweet potato. I actually looked up studies from Texas A&M, and they said no more nutritional value comes from it harvesting on the plant.
It's people's perception. It's how their grandpa did it, so they're gonna do that.
Yeah. So first, cleared out the plant, and I found where the roots are, and then I'm brushing away some of the mulch, and I'm gonna start a little bit wide here using this pitchfork to just loosen up the soil and being careful so we don't pierce any sweet potatoes. So just kind of shaking things up a little bit here. You can see the roots are going all over the place, and so that's why we start pretty wide. And there we have it. We're eating all winter. A couple little small things here. This is actually what we planted in the ground. It was just half of a sweet potato, and that's where the roots came off of. Created its own little slip. But got a few of these pulled up, but we've got lots of root systems that we want to kind of excavate this area. Again, being careful, but we need to dig up a bit of this area. But the good thing about sweet potato, if you don't have big harvests, you can just eat the leaves and you'll make it through. So we got a few sweet potatoes here, but one thing that I want to kind of add a disclaimer about is these were actually accidents. We planted sweet potatoes here a year ago, a little over a year ago actually, and then these were just left in the ground, kind of sprouted up. We left them in because it's a nice ground cover, keeps the soil moist, keeps it protected from the sun, but it is about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and this whole area is already getting shaded. So that's about half the day that these leaves are not being able to fully access the sun and photosynthesize. And so as a result, these plants didn't do nearly as well as some of the others that we have.
Hey, it's Jeff. I'm here too. I'm not holding the camera anymore, but I am over here because I want to take this opportunity, now that the sweet potatoes are gone, to take all of these Kajari melon vines that are on the ground. I just couldn't find them because they got so intertwined with the sweet potatoes. Now that the sweet potatoes are gone, I'm gonna just put them in here, kind of help nature out a little bit. Put some leaves on top of some crossbars and just get these growing up closer to the light to give them more of a chance to ripen up these sweet baby watermelons. They're not watermelons, sweet baby kajaris.
All right, we talked about summer squash, so let's talk about some winter squash. These are our butternut squash. These take closer to 3 months and onward to ripen up, be ready for harvesting. And we see here this guy, still green, we're gonna give him some more time on the vine, but we have some others like this bad boy next to him, ready to harvest. And so what we're gonna do is let that cure and then make a nice soup out of that in a few months. But the reason we're starting to harvest is to allow the plant to focus its energy elsewhere. Also, we have some powdery mildew going on, so we're gonna be pruning more. And this plant, as you can see, it's on its way out. A lot of dead areas. It's just old at this point. This plant is over 3 months old. It's really given us everything it has to give. So it's time to just kind of respect that, honor it, harvest what we can, and then get it out of here and get some room made for the cool season.
Okay, so John just talked about curing the butternut squash. Let's take a look and see what that actually looks like, how you're gonna do that with our pumpkins. So our pumpkins, we always grow them early because I just think they grow a lot better before it gets too hot. And since they are winter squash, they're gonna save until Halloween when we're gonna use them to decorate. We'll probably eat some of them, and we'll also make jack-o'-lanterns. So curing, you're gonna wanna keep them outside, in the shade, with airflow. Those 3 things, keep them out for a week or really as long as you want, and then you can take them inside, store them throughout the winter, and save them. They're gonna last a really long time. For those curious of what these are, we have got these big boys back here are the Cinderella. This is Sugar Pie, and don't tell Bridget, but we also grew Girardales, which those are my wife's favorite. She's the decorator around here, so we had to get some to make this place look nice and spooky.
If you're anything like us, you have just some prime spots in the garden, and here our trellises are king. So many plants love to grow vertically. We've done pumpkins, cucumbers, beans, flowers, right now Peruvian ground cherry, and loofah tomatoes. Such a prime spot for our plants to grow. They just love it. They get good airflow, they get good sun. We have a lot of plants that go in through rotation here. We had cucumbers, planted those in the spring, enjoyed them throughout the height of summer, but now we've taken those out and we've done succession planting, not just in this space, but also within some of the crops that we have here now. So this ground cherry, this will pretty much stay here permanently now. It's made itself a nice home. We don't even know where this came from. None of us planted it, but it is thriving. And if you've never had these, come on, they're just the best. Gotta plant one, they're too good. As we move down the line a little bit, we have tomatoes. These are coming along really nicely. And you can see here, some are ready now and some are still coming in. We're gonna leave this plant here a little bit longer, but we also have loofahs. This guy still pretty early on in his life cycle, but the plant is just reaching up. Look at how it's going over this whole trellis with no guidance at all. We have a smaller one here, and we actually have the largest of the loofahs, the one that went in first. These were all direct sown because loofahs are prone to transplant shock. And look at this monster. So this one here, size of my arm, it is now pretty much full size. This is gonna start to dry out. I can already feel it. It's not so spongy, and that will be getting brown over the coming weeks. What's really important is thinking about your spaces and what you're putting there. So this plant, being the oldest, will be the first to come out, and this will be making room for peas, and we can also have other smaller ground cover at the bottom, herbs, greens. And so as we enter this time into the fall, really think about intentionally where you're planting things, and feel free to mix it up, experiment a little bit, but think about what's coming in, what needs to go out, and think of that kind of cycle within your garden as well.
I never got to be a ring bearer as a kid, so I thought I would practice with our tomato trellis and tunnel. Anyway, we just wanted to take a break from the video just to see if I can fit this tomato in my mouth. Any guesses? That felt dangerous. That got dangerous. I don't know why we're even doing this. Let's go look at somewhere else in the garden. This is not good TV.
Oh, he's just eating it now.
I know. I'm not gonna eat it all at once, but I am just gonna eat it because it's delicious. One thing I love about Lucid Gem, it's got this little kiss of pink inside. So there's purple on the top, yellow throughout, and then just a little tiny itty bit of pink, and it's just delicious. You can just eat them like an apple, like I am now. But why I'm at this part of the garden is to talk about one of my favorite fruits, the cucamelon, or John, what are the other names for him?
I don't know.
John doesn't know.
Mexican sour gherkin.
That's it. Sour Mexican gherkin. I'm gonna sacrifice one just so you guys can see. This might be ready. I'll bring this out to the camera. So they are tiny little cucumbers shaped like miniature watermelon that have kind of like a limey taste. You guys, take my word for it. Find these seeds. We used to carry them. You might have to go to the black market, but grow this plant. One reason is they are so prolific. The fruit is gonna fall off the vine. It's gonna fall into the ground. And these two plants just grew. We didn't even grow them here. I have no idea how they got here. Maybe a bird brought them over. Not really for sure, but it just grew. And so now that it's grown, I've put our old tomato cage that we're not using because we took one of our tomatoes out. I made this little thing for our cucumbers, kept it here, giving them support. And in a month or so, this whole thing is gonna be completely full. They grow like a weed, and they give you delicious, tiny little fruit that you can't see because I dropped it. Oh, and I forgot. It's disease resistant. I have never seen any powdery mildew on these. I've never seen any pest, no holes on them. They're really just a magical plant, and they grow like a weed. Okay, so this isn't plant related, but it is summer related. It's August, it's hot. One thing to remember, if you have compost at home, you have got to keep it wet. You've constantly got to put moisture on here. One thing you can do is cover it. If you cover it, it's gonna make the moisture escape less. There's less surface area for the moisture to leave. Remember, water is one of the main ingredients in making compost because it helps keep the bacteria and all the small single cell organisms and all the creepy crawlies in there alive so that they can break down the material to make compost.
I am hanging out next to another just total volunteer. This tomato is giving us lots of fruits. And so we're gonna run with it. We're gonna run with it and just enjoy what it has to give us, except that part, that's pretty nasty. Into the compost to make it wet. What? I'm not gonna eat this, that's gross.
Boo.
On camera, I'm not gonna eat it on camera. That is so good. That was delicious. We have just been snacking this whole garden tour. Hopefully you are out in your garden snacking, enjoying the fruits of your labor as well. So let us know, what are you doing in your garden this month? August is such a fun time. Everything is just exploding. It's really kind of the last big hurrah before we get into the cool season here in zones 9 and 10, and much of the country is really starting to shift into that cooler weather very soon here. So it's kind of our last chance to enjoy these long summer days and enjoy this delicious fruit.